This is the most profitable movie in the history of cinema. It was made by an interior design firm with 2 employees, cost less than $1,000 US to make, and is estimated to make over $20 million, beating out Obsession with an over 20,000% profit to cost ratio. Yes, you heard me right. 20,000%. This movie is Niu Lai. It is directed, animated, edited, and starring Shin Yu-meng and his mother Suen Li-fang, who helped fund her son's passion project as he worked a construction day job. She also sang the end credits scene of the movie, and the music in general is shockingly good? It was made by Suen, the mother. Niu Lai translates roughly to "the cow comes home," but this also translates to a euphemism that means the bull market is coming, which is why auspicious-minded stock traders have purchased tickets for the movie in hopes that their holdings go up in price. The movie stars the titular Niu Lai, his mother, and a bird. The entire movie is on YouTube. In fact, it is perhaps the only movie which appears in higher quality when viewed from a second-hand phone recording, instead of actually watching it in the theater. That is because it is not animated, it is designed. By that, I mean that director Shin did not use Maya, which is industry standard. He did not use Blender, which is the free alternative for hobbyists and amateurs. And no, he didn't use a Chinese equivalent either. This movie was created using SketchUp, an architectural design software with very low animation capabilities. At least, this is what is assumed due to the fact that purchasing even one copy of Maya would have likely caused this movie to have exceeded the budget constraints that this falls under. And while I have you for a moment, I'd like to remind you to subscribe, like, hype, comment, hit the bell, whatever. I just hit 4,000 subscribers and I'm trying to push for 5, and you can help make that happen just by taking a few seconds out of your day as you continue to watch. This video, like Niu Lai, is a passion project made for your enjoyment. What is confirmed, though, is that this movie is considered a mistake. In fact, it can be screened in many places in China, but not the director's hometown of Dalian, a coastal city in Liaoning province, China. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. But this is because Dalian views this film as such a shame and black mark upon their image that they refuse entirely to let any theater within their borders screen it. Not only that, the Beijing Times itself encouraged people to not watch this movie, and that theaters could lose audiences' trusts if they screen this movie. That has not stopped this movie from having the largest week-on-week percentage increase of all time, however. Niu Lai was originally screened in 437 theaters, but it had no trailer, no interviews, and no marketing material, save for this poster. Contrary to everything else you might see, it looks pretty good. The movie dropped immediately from 400 screens to 4 in 1 week, and it only made 7,169 yuan from 236 people in the first 9 days of its release. For a USD comparison, that is $1,000. However, that 1 week was enough time for a small number of people to get scammed by the poster into watching the movie, thinking that it would be some sort of 2D animated gem or some other sort of mythological movie. They purchased tickets, only to be met with this. They immediately filmed parts of the movie and pushed them onto Douyin and other Chinese social media, complaining about the movie's quality and how they were scammed. Somehow, this had the exact opposite impact of what they had intended. The movie began to draw crowds who found its awkward animation somehow more interesting and funny than actual comedies. The sales from week 2 to week 3 increased by over 2 million%. This is a record that will pretty much never be beat in the history of cinema. Even heavy word-of-mouth movies never do this well. This just happened to be the perfect storm. And somehow, it's spreading to America. I found out that this movie would probably blow up very heavily when I talked about it to one of my friends, and immediately after I talked about it to him, he saw an Instagram account with 3 million followers post about it. This account has nothing to do with movies or China, by the way. So after that, I knew it was on to something huge. Somehow, Niu Lai actually climbed into the top 10 of the Chinese domestic box office by week 3, and this was celebrated by this box office subreddit user who replaced all of the top movies with posters that had Niu Lai in them. These AI-generated and Photoshop posters ended up being a bigger marketing push than the actual studio could afford. And speaking of which, this studio is not actually a movie production company. It was first incorporated as an interior design company before rebranding to Dalian Jingyuan Culture, Film, and Television Media. Niu Lai was registered in 2021 with a script, and director Shin toiled on it for 5 years while also working full-time as a construction worker. I think we can all agree that the one thing you have to credit him for is his relentlessness. Niu Lai has thus become a rallying cry for anti-AI and anti-blockbuster groups who claim that the success of the movie is due to everything being so safe that they would rather watch handcrafted nonsense than algorithmically or committee-derived slop. Personally speaking, I don't really believe this. It makes no sense to assign some sort of greater philosophical movement or cultural Weltanschauung to what is simply a moment of mass psychosis. What I will say is that it is really fucking funny. My father is not a laugh out loud kind of guy, but when I showed him a clip of Niu Lai where the cows began to moo, he broke into laughter. My mother watched the first 2 minutes, and she said that there was something about it that made her kind of intrigued to see more of it, so clearly it is resonating on some sort of level, even with people who have no interest in this movie whatsoever. But what exactly is Niu Lai, and what is it about? And how could I possibly let you go without explaining exactly what the plot of the movie is? We start off the movie with Niu Lai and his mother walking in their herd. Niu Lai is weak and he can't keep up with the rest of them. Despite being warned against it, he falls asleep. Then he ends up in this black void type of place, the shadow realm, let's call it, and he speaks with the skylark, who tells him to take heart. Even though he can't fly like she can, he can run across the field. And you're going to get more of this sort of poetic stuff in the future. Niu Lai wakes up, but now he is standing on 2 legs and so is everyone else. His mother saves the skylark who is injured and feeds her milk while also feeding Niu Lai's father at the same time. Niu Lai, in the meantime, gets scared of a grass snake that tells him that the world sucks and also looks a little bit like pork belly. He is bit by the snake, and his mother tells him that he must have done something to provoke it. She tells him that he's still young and needs her care still. After this, Niu Lai gets scared of a tree branch, calling it a grass rope or snake. In this case, since everything's low poly, they actually do look kinda similar, so this is a reasonable mistake to make, I would say. Niu Lai and his mother go off and eat some grass and drink from a river. Niu Lai notices some butterflies and he wants to know where they're going, so his mom jumps across the river and urges him to do the same. Niu Lai begins to make excuses, but then the skylark points out that a snake is behind him and he jumps high up across the river and crashes into a tree. Niu Lai's father shows up and says that the tree should be crying instead, then tells everyone that they're going to be meeting to discuss the migration soon. Niu Lai doesn't want to migrate since the land is good where they are. Niu Lai sees a leopard and at first he runs away, but then he says, "I'm not scared of it," and returns. The leopard, Bao La, explains that his mother died while falling into a pit while foraging, but Niu Lai's mother interrupts the conversation to drag him away. His mother allows for him to befriend Bao La after his protests, but only temporarily. Later, the herd decides to migrate, and Niu Lai volunteers for the night watch, along with another cow. A lot of the dialogue can be difficult to discern. I don't know if it's because Mandarin in general is a poetic language, or if the screenwriter Suen for this movie is particularly so, but they speak in abstract terms a lot. I think it is very difficult to enjoy it if you aren't Chinese or a fluent Chinese speaker. Anyways, that night, Bao La notices that some wolves, which look like dogs, are trying to attack the herd, so he chases after them and shouts at another night watch sentinel to go and report. He then distracts the wolves and fights them off for a bit before running away. And I'd like to use this shot here when he runs away to say something. I think the director, Shin Yu-mang, actually has good instincts, because while the movie obviously looks really bad, it's not necessarily because of the framing or the camera motions. Yes, they're obviously stilted and janky, and there's a lot of filler where they just hold on the background, but often the general idea behind them isn't bad. There's a decent mix of close angles, medium angles, far angles, tracking shots, shortcuts, long cuts, etc. Not to say that he's a great director or editor, obviously, but you could definitely do worse if you're making an indie animated film. Anyways, the night guard reports that Bao La and the wolves tried to attack the herd. Niu Lai goes off to tell Bao La that they will still be friends, and the two of them butt heads before they leave. Bao La says that he'll see him soon. The cows begin to migrate, and for some reason they're all wearing backpacks, which is kinda funny. They begin to pass through a desert, and this part is difficult to watch because it's a lot brighter, so it washes out all of the detail and makes everything blurry. As they go through the desert, Niu Lai has flashbacks to Bao La's last conversation with him and collapses. His mom feeds him, though it tires her, and the two of them continue on. The wolves can be seen in the desert following them. Eventually, the herd reaches the greener pastures and Niu Lai and his mother take a rest. The wolves attack while they're sleeping, and Niu Lai and his mother begin to run, but his mother runs out of energy. As the wolves are about to attack, Bao La returns, kicking one of them away. Bao La escapes up a tree and the wolves leave. Niu Lai once again collapses from exhaustion, and Bao La brings him fruits. As we can see, the vast majority of this film's runtime is Niu Lai's mother telling him to do this or that, while Niu Lai is either lazy or cowardly. Anyways, after eating, they realize that there is a big cliff and that they have to head down the mountain. Niu Lai's mother has run out of strength at this point, and she sends him and Bao La ahead while she stays behind to get eaten by the wolves. She wishes that he grows up to be strong and have a fighting spirit, and then we cut to him as an adult. Him and Bao La, who looks pretty much the same as his child form, are confronting some wolves, and at first it seems like they've off-screened the fight, but it's actually a loud noise coming from elsewhere. The wolves run away. Bao La says he'll distract whatever it is, and Niu Lai goes to rejoin his herd. As he does, he is ambushed by a car, or something car-like, and he decides to fight back to prevent it from finding the herd. With one last heroic moo, he is ran over and reappears in the Shadow Realm, back on all fours. The Skylark says to Niu Lai, "Don't you think this cooperation has been a success?" Then his mother wakes him up. This is when the song that Shin's mother sang in real life kicks in, and from what I hear, the Chinese actually really like it. Obviously, I don't know what she's saying, and there isn't a translation, but I assume that knowing the translation and the lyrics would help improve the experience. Niu Lai silently says goodbye to the Skylark as they go off to reunite with the herd. This time, he's leading the way. He sees the tree that his mother died at in the dream, as well as the cliff. As it turns out, the cliff is not so high in real life, and he jumps down easily to reunite with the rest of the herd. Niu Lai reunites with his dad, and him, his mother, and his father moo together. The movie ends with Niu Lai marching with the rest of the herd as the Skylark soars overhead. Overall, would I say that the movie is worth your time and especially your money? No, not really. Like I said, the movement surrounding this is mass psychosis. It's not based in reality. It is a very generic kids movie. There are of course times where the heart of the mother comes through in the script, which she wrote, but those heartwarming lines aren't worth the price of admission. That being said, these two have undeniably punched above their weight. Would anyone expect a 60-year-old with no prior experience in screenwriting to deliver a serviceable script? I don't think so, but she does. Yes, obviously the fact that it's a dream sucks, but aside from that, and the car coming out of nowhere, I wouldn't say that there are any major mishaps in the script, which is pretty insane to say. Yeah, it's exposition heavy. Yeah, the car comes out of nowhere. No, there isn't any part of the movie that really made me sit up and go, oh, this part's actually good. But it is a story, and honestly, Shin and Suen are decent voice actors, and the music is pretty good considering it's made by one person. And more importantly, it's a story about a story. The story of this construction worker and his mother who, like Niu Lai, face many trials and tribulations, mature and flourish as people, support each other, and now are going to walk away from 5 years of hard work with $10 million. And frankly, that is a story that's stronger than the actual movie. Thank you for watching.